morning, everyone. My name is Hector Hernandez, and today I'm taking over ITA's Instagram story. I'm coming to you live from Nyirpazony, Hungary. Where is Nyirpazony? Nyirpazony is located on the northeastern part of Hungary, about an hour away from the Ukrainian border and an hour and 30 minutes from the Romanian border. A little bit about myself. I'm from San Diego, California. I'm 35 years old, and I'm a graduate from California State University, Dominguez Hills. I'm gonna drop the box question so you guys can ask me any question regarding CETP or living here in Hungary. I have class at 8, so I'm gonna eat breakfast fast, and then I'm off to work. So this is my morning commute. I walk about 5 minutes. My house is down the street, and the school is next to the church that you see at the end of the street. What made you choose to teach abroad in Hungary? Well, since I was a little kid, I always wanted to live in Europe, so that's why I took this opportunity. But being honest, Hungary was not my first option to teach. What grades do you teach? I teach in elementary school, and I teach grades 1 through 8. The process of getting hired was really easy. I emailed CETP. They asked me to send my resume. The person in charge saw my resume, and she emailed me saying that she wanted to interview me the next day. After the interview, I had to turn a packet with documents and also the fee for the program. The fee depends whether you want to teach in Budapest, which is more expensive, and then than teaching in a small town like I do. Now let's open the door. You usually take your shoes here in Hungary before entering the house, but I won't be doing that today. Now let's go to my room. My room is also my living room, so there's the heater, the window, my closet window, mirror, my bed, my desk, my TV, the sculpture I made, and the drawing. Here I have the materials I use for work. So these are the books I use for teaching. And that's about it. This is my room. Now let's go to the kitchen. Here's my table, here's a window, my fridge, my microwave, cabinets. I don't have a stove, but I do have this hot plate where I cook and it works fine. My sink, and that's about it. Now let's go to the restroom. Here's the toilet, my washer, my sink, my shower. It's a little bit different. It's Hungarian style because it has a shower here like that, but then it's weird because it has curtains, and this is not common here in Hungary. But at the same time, it reminds me of a wet room from Asia because even though it has curtains and the little platform, water still gets into the floor. So every time I finish taking a shower, my floor is wet. So it reminds me of a wet room from Asia. So that's the entrance for my flat. This is the backyard. Yes, that's a well. And then this thing is used by the non-profit, which is the building over there. Yes, my apartment is inside a non-profit. They rent my flat to the school. The non-profit helps people here in need in Nyirpazony. They also have a women's club, which they meet and they do yoga and they have like small parties. But because of COVID, they haven't been able to do that. So basically, the backyard is all to myself. What tools or programs do you use to teach online? Well, first of all, I'm not hired by any company. I just do this on the side by my own. And I started to do this because my school had a, like I was saying, I started to tutor actually because there were a few students at my school who needed extra help. And then a teacher from school asked me if I. So once the teacher knew I spoke Spanish, he asked me if I wanted to tutor a few students from Nyirpazony because they needed to practice their speaking skills. So basically, that's how I started. Do you get to pick where you go, or do they assign you a place? Yes and no. In my case, I was offered 5 cities where I could get hired. I had to choose number one being my first choice and number five being my last choice. Once they have the list of your first choice and your last choice, they send your info to the schools. The schools decide if they want you or not. In my case, Nyirpazony was number two on my list, and they were the first school to pick me. So that's how I got hired here in Nyirpazony, or I ended up here because they were my second choice, and they were the first ones to say, "Oh, we want this person in our school." Good question. I use a book, but once in a while, I do have to create lesson plans from scratch. But you have to keep in mind that every school is different. This is Main Square Park. This is usually where the town makes events. But because of COVID, they haven't made any event this year. But it seems like in the several next months they might. I'm gonna call it a night, and I would like to thank everyone who watched my story takeover. If you have more questions, uh, please feel free to message me on my personal Instagram. And I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Bye.